NBCSN, home of racing's biggest events, proudly presents Summer at Saratoga.
History doesn't take place all at once. It happens over lifetimes. What went down 5 minutes ago is part of the same past as everything that came before. As soon as you think you've made sense of it all, there's more history to contend with.
Down to the wire! Holy Bull wins! What a hero!
Today, a race that dates back 141 years brings familiar faces to the Spa track in search of an historic performance.
A spectacular, exhilarating performance by Questing.
The same team that took Questing to the winner's circle in last year's Alabama Stakes has returned, looking to replicate that success with Carnival Court. Will Princess of Sylmar, victorious in 6 of her last 7 starts, dash their hopes of a repeat and earn Todd Pletcher yet another Grade 1 victory? The answer is 10 furlongs away as history continues to roll. It's Summer at Saratoga. Saratoga Racecourse in Saratoga Springs, New York. Celebration continuing for this 150th anniversary. Big crowd on hand for a pair of Grade 1 stakes races. Will we see those colors once again following today's Sword Dancer and Princess of Sylmar, strictly the one to beat in the Grade 1 Alabama? Summer at Saratoga continues with the 133rd running of the Alabama Stakes and the 39th running of the Sword Dancer Invitational. I couldn't ask for better conditions on this mid-August afternoon, clear skies. Temperature around 77 degrees, main track listed as fast for the Alabama, and a firm turf course for the Sword Dancer Invitational. And welcome everyone to Saratoga Racecourse. I'm Lafitte Pinkai. Today's featured event was first contested back in 1872. And over the decades, the Alabama Stakes has become one of the premier events for 3-year-old fillies in the nation. In fact, 50 Alabama winners have gone on to be crowned 3-year-old filly champion. Will Princess of Sylmar be next? If she wins today, the title is all but hers. Post time around 5:45 Eastern. But first, some of the highlights of today's show. We start with a turf war. Grade 1 Sword Dancer Invitational just around the corner. Also, Kieran McLaughlin, he won last year's Alabama with Questing. He'll try for another today with Carnival Court. And finally, the 3-year-old filly title. Princess of Sylmar in the driver's seat, having won the Kentucky Oaks and Coaching Club America Notes. And when the field loads into the starting gate, gonna look something like this. Tell a great story. A late scratch defected yesterday. Number 2, Montana Native, making her first start in a graded stakes event. Number 3, Galloping Giraffe, first to 2 for Todd Pletcher. Number 4 will be the favorite, Princess of Sylmar. Odds on the morning line, 3-5 with Javier Castellano. Carnival Court, 15-1 with Irad Ortiz Jr. And 50 Shades of Hay, making her 4th start in as many states. Now joined by racing expert Randy Moss. And Randy, we start with the significance of this Alabama Stakes. What makes this horse race so important?
It's mainly that championship connection you referenced. And oh, by the way, not only have 50 winners of the Alabama been named 3-year-old filly champion, 30 losers of the Alabama won the championship as well. And if Princess of Sylmar, our favorite here, can add the Alabama to her resume today, she'd be a worthy addition to that championship list. The Kentucky Oaks field that she beat was probably the deepest Oaks field in our memory. Then she looked even better 4 weeks later at Saratoga. Now, she's got a tough Bob Baffert filly named 50 Shades of Hay to deal with, but she is a very deserving favorite.
We also have the Sword Dancer Invitational. We watched this race a season ago. Shug McGahee having won with Point of Entry. Shug's back with the favorite in Boisterous.
And he's made almost $1.3 million. He's teamed with Saratoga's all-time leading jockey John Velasquez, and he will see an old foe today. It's a rematch between Boisterous and Big Blue Kitten, who ran against each other June the 9th in a race called the Monmouth Stakes on the Jersey Shore. Boisterous won that race by 1.25 lengths. But look at Big Blue Kitten, one from the far left, eating up ground in the last 1/8 of a mile. You can make the case that Big Blue Kitten is even more suited to today's 1.5-mile distance than is Boisterous. And throw a good horse in Twilight Eclipse into the mix. What a daily double we have, starting with the Sword Dancer and then the Alabama.
If you like big fields and turf racing, get excited. 12 of them to do battle in this Grade 1 Sword Dancer, 1.5 miles the distance. Number 10, Boisterous, is the favorite. Al Khali, number 6. making his 4th appearance in a sword dancer, also make the rider Cornelio Velasquez. And towards the outside, you have a filly taking on the boys. 22-1 is Tannery, to be ridden by Luis Saez. As we welcome in Donna Brothers standing by. Donna, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lafitte. And while he's not currently the favorite, keep an eye out for the Ford Twilight Eclipse. On March 23rd, Twilight Eclipse set a world record going 1.5 miles on the turf over a firm turf course at Gulfstream Park. In his 2 races since then, he's caught turf courses labeled as yielding and good and has run 5th and 2nd respectively. Today, Twilight Eclipse gets that firm turf course that he likes, and he also gets his preferred distance. He's 2 for 2 at 1.5 miles, looking to make his way back to the winner's circle. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
All right, Donna. Well, somebody who knows his way to the winner's circle very well is owner Ken Ramsay. Along with wife Sarah, they're saddling 2 horses, or sending out rather 2 horses in the Sword Dancer, Big Blue Kitten and Stormy Lord. And this, you got to keep an eye on Kenny Ramsay's horses because they have been really on a tear. Go back to April at Keeneland. 25 winners from the Ramsay barn. 25 winners in 16 days. Now, to put that in perspective, the old record for wins in that meet was 12. They more than doubled it. Went to Churchill, won 32 more races there, another record. Right now, they sit atop the standings here at Saratoga with 11 winners. And a lot of big stakes winners among those winners because the $6.3 million they've amassed so far in earnings this year, Lafitte, that's #1 in the country.
Could be a huge day for the Ramsays. 2 horses running in the Sword Dancer and Real Solution in the Arlington Million just outside Chicago. Randy, time for the Formulator Fact brought to you by DRF.
It centers on boisterous trainer Shug McGahee and jockey John Velasquez. They don't team up that often, but with point of entry last year and boisterous this year, look at the last 2 years, 61% when they team up on the turf in great.
Yeah, boisterous with the right jockey in the saddle. John Velasquez has been on a stakes race rampage of late. He's won 5 of the last 6 graded stakes races at Saratoga. Looking to make it 6 of 7 with Boisterous, the favorite in the Grade 1 Sword Dancer. Stay tuned. NBCSN's coverage of summer at Saratoga is brought to you by Windstar. Buy, breed, train Windstar. By Lane's End, where performance counts. And by Saratoga Racecourse, celebrating 150 years of thoroughbred racing. Horse Haven, it was called, site of the first racing meet ever held at Saratoga in 1863. In the colors of last year's Travers winners, plural, Alpha Golden Ticket, forever linked in Saratoga history following their dead heat a season ago. And next Saturday, summer at Saratoga continues with the 144th running of the Travers Stakes. Orb, Verrazano, Palace Malice, the heavyweights of the 3-year-old division collide in the Midsummer Derby. The Sword Dancer Invitational is just moments away and will be run on grass, despite the fact the great Sword Dancer did all his damage on dirt. And here he is in the 1959 Travers, closing with giant strides on the far outside. Sword Dancer winning the Travers after he won the Belmont. What Palace Malice will be trying to duplicate next week. What a career compiled by Sword Dancer from 1958 to 1960. First or second in 22 with 39 lifetime starts while earning $829,000. It's a lot of money for a horse running in the late 50s. Champion 3-year-old and Horse of the Year in 1959. And with that kind of production, every knew where Sword Dancer was eventually headed. The National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame inducted in 1977. And of course, his legacy also lives in the form of the race you're about to watch, the Grade 1 Sword Dancer Invitational. There is the field and updated odds. Randy, Boisterous, taking some late money now. He's been hovering around 2-1, now the 9-5 favorite at post time. The number 10 post position for Boisterous is not exactly ideal because of this 1.5 mile distance on the innermost of the 2 turf tracks. There are actually 3 turns the horses have to navigate, and there's a fairly short run into that first turn. So John Velasquez is going to have to worry about getting position by the time they hit that turn. You don't want to lose too much. He's not as good as his barnmate Point of Entry, who's on the comeback trail from injury, but he's a pretty doggone good second stringer. And then you have Big Blue Kitten, a 9-time winner and a perfect 1-for-1 on this particular turf course. And that red-hot ownership tandem of Ken and Sarah Ramsay, they're actually in Arlington today, but they'll be watching
this on the 2. Big Blue, of course, Ken Ramsay's a Kentucky boy. He's a 1958 graduate of the University of Kentucky. Season tickets at Rupp Arena. A huge Wildcat basketball fan, hence the name Big Blue Kitten, and he's got a pretty nice stretch kick himself.
How about Twilight Eclipse, number 4, 7-2, second to Boisterous in the Grade 1 Man of War.
Some interesting things to point out. First of all, it's not a very hot day. You see him sweating, but according to trainer Tom Albertrani, that is par for the course for this horse, so don't get too worried about that. He's also originally a $1,000 purchase, and now he's set a world record, and he's made almost $400,000 and perhaps more after today.
And what do we know about the European import Natello, pictured sort of making his U.S. debut?
Another horse that really likes firm footing. That's why he is over here. You have to question his quality looking at some of the races he was running in Europe. But with a firm course, he has a little speed. He could be well positioned. Incidentally, he'll stay here in the U.S. to be trained by Gray Emotion after this race is over.
Boisterous is 9-5, filing into the starting gate.
And Big Blue Kitten, incidentally, there is Shug McGahee, the trainer of Boisterous, has an entry mate in here, as we have mentioned, 1A Stormy Lord, who was in this race strictly as a pace-setting rabbit. So expect him to dash out to the early lead with Sean Bridgemohan. Star Channel from the rail should be right behind him, and Twilight Eclipse will probably have a good position as well.
Shug McGahee, who won here a season ago with Point of Entry, he'll try with Boisterous. The current favorite, Al Khali, steps forward, his 4th appearance in a Sword Dancer Invitational.
He's got 2/3 in a second. Arguably the most difficult racehorse in America to ride. A lot of jockeys say that.
Trouble to find, he's going to find it. The filly towards the outside, reluctant. Tannery, Luis Saez, now in the saddle. Once she loads, we'll be all set for this 2013 edition of the Grade 1 Sword Dancer Invitational.
Getting a little help.
Now she's in. Tom Durkin with the call, Grade 1 Sword Dancer live.
And they're off. Stormy Lord immediately takes command. Stormy Lord out there with that lead. Tahoe Lake moves up on the far outside. Natella's got some early speed. And then Twilight Eclipse and over at the inside Star Channel. Boisterous is 6th, followed by Al Khali running along in 7th. London Lane is 8th on the far outside. Tannery is now 9th. And down on the fence is Big Blue Kitten, 10th, as his stablemate leads the way in Exclusive Strike and Optimizer. So around the first of 3 turns here, and Stormy Lord is providing the pace, and he opens up 4 lengths on the field here. Tahoe Lake not taking the bait and sits back along in 2nd. Natella's a little bit rank, running along in 3rd, is trying to follow Tahoe Lake around there, and they have caught up on the front runner. So the lead's now a length and a half. Stormy Lord, Tahoe Lake is 2nd. London Lord on the outside now. There goes London Lane up to challenge for the lead. Twilight Eclipse over on the hedge runs along in 4th. Boisterous is only 3.5 lengths from the lead. He's now running in 5th position. And then the French colt Nutella is back racing in 6th. Al Khali takes to the outside 7th. Optimizer 8th and on the far outside, followed by Star Channel Exclusive Strike. Big Blue Kitten still at the back of the pack, and Tannery is now the trailer. Stormy Lord, the lead's just a length. The half-mile mark was 49 4 3/4 in 1:14 1. The field moving down the backstretch here, and there's 5 furlongs remaining. The leader is still Stormy Lord. London Lane pressing for that lead midway down the backstretch run. Twilight Eclipse tucked away at the hedge, right there 3rd, as they approach the far turn, less than a half-mile to go. Then it's Tahoe Lake, Nutella toward the inside. Time ticking away for Boisterous here. Yet to get underway. He's still about 5.5 lengths from the lead. Al Khali is in behind horses as they move into the far turn. Big Blue Kitten starting to get underway, but he'll have to find a way through on the inside. Less than 3 furlongs to go. London Lane, a narrow lead. Twilight Eclipse, and here comes Boisterous. Charging up on the outside. Al Khali takes to the far outside. Stormy Lord is giving way. Nutella trying to squeeze through toward the rail. Twilight Eclipse has come away with the lead. But here comes Nutella, closing with the furious rally. And so too Big Blue Kitten, coming with giant strides. And he gobbles up the turf. And in the final furlong, Big Blue Kitten with a dramatic final quarter mile wins the Sword Dancer by length. Twilight Eclipse was 2nd. It was close for 3rd between the French Nutella and the filly Tannery.
Local boy makes good. Chad Brown and Big Blue Kitten in the Grade 1 Sword Dancer Invitational.
Well, I wondered as the race was being run why his designated pacemaker, Stormy Lord, was only going a half in 49-4 while Big Blue Kitten was languishing in last place. What a stretch kick this horse has, though. Joe Bravo working out a trip through traffic. There you see Big Blue Kitten running past that world record setter in Twilight Eclipse to get the win. When Joe Bravo first rode this horse 2 races back and finished second to Boisterous, he came back after the race and he told Chad Brown, the trainer, I have learned something about this horse today. Now I know how to ride him. Run him back in the UN Stakes his next start and he'll win. What a kick he has, and he did win the UN, and now he's doubled up here in the Sword Dancer.
Big win for owners Ken and Sarah Ramsay. Fired up Chad Brown urging home Big Blue Kitten in the Sword Dancer Invitational. They breed their racing fans real young around these parts. Look at her, she's minding her own business, watching the ponies. And here comes her brother with the ambush. It's like getting binocular bombed. How about Chad Brown, local boy from Mechanicville, and he had Big Blue Kitten primed and ready for the race of his career.
And how about those Ken Ramsay silks Joe Bravo is wearing? This is Ken Ramsay's horse racing world. We're all just kind of borrowing it from him. Unbelievable, and it has a lot to do with the stallion Kitten's Joy that he once raced, that he now stands at his farm in Nicholasville, Kentucky. 31 different horses this year Ramsay has won with Kitten.
Unbelievable.
In their names.
Twilight Eclipse, big run, Natello in his U.S. debut. Good run and no excuses for Boisterous. Big Blue Kitten in the Sword Dancer Invitational. As we turn the page to the Alabama and reintroduce you to the field for this Grade 1 Alabama Stakes. We had the scratch that was announced yesterday afternoon. The filly drawn inside will not run. That came about 2 o'clock yesterday. Tell a great story out. Montana native, a long shot 21-1. And galloping draft for Mike Rapoli and trainer Todd Pletcher. However, Pletcher has the heavy favorite in Princess of Silmar. First look at the tote board. Look at that. 1-9. The team that won last year's Alabama has Carnival Court 9-1 with Irad Ortiz Jr. and 50 Shades of Hay 7-1 currently. You might be wondering why a race held in upstate New York is called the Alabama. Named after a Captain William Cottrell, who did fight for the Confederacy in the Civil War and was an important horseman, later becoming a staunch supporter of racing in the North. As the story goes, the race was supposed to bear his name, but Cottrell, apparently too modest, requested it be named after his home state. So instead of the Cottrell Stakes, we have the Alabama. In Alabama, Randy, which on paper is supposed to be dominated by Princess of Silmar, why is she such a heavy favorite?
She would have been just as heavy a favorite in the Cottrell Stakes as she is in the Alabama Stakes. She's as solid as an oak, pun intended. I mean, it's all about the oaks with this filly, starting with the Kentucky Oaks that we saw at Churchill Downs the day before the Derby. Watch her at the break now as she's the victim of a squeeze play. Right there, she's broadsided, knocked back to next to last. The good news is the pace was very fast in that race, and the bump might have even helped her, being way back there. And there she's running down a very tough 2-year-old filly champion and Beholder to get the money. Then 4 weeks ago at Saratoga, completely different scenario. A slow-paced race. Princess of Silmar still last, but now only about 4 lengths back as they head into the second turn, and yet she still motored around the field and drew off to win this race by 6 lengths. The main concern about Princess of Silmar here is if that 6-length win in the Coaching Club American Oaks took anything out of her. Sometimes in horse racing we see huge efforts by horses followed by not so huge efforts, and that really is the only reason not to like Princess of Silmar in this field.
And now being asked to go a little bit farther, 1.25 miles is the Alabama. And then you have the Bob Baffert factor. When you have Baffert in a graded stakes race, he has to be respected. 50 Shades of Hay, who did look real good under the lights in her last start.
This was her second win in a row. She won the Black-Eyed Susan at Pimlico, then at Prairie Meadows in Altoona, Iowa, in the Iowa Oaks. Forwardly placed in fast fraction. She draws away probably the best race of her career to win by 3.5 lengths. She's here because there's really no races for 3-year-old fillies, no graded stakes at all at Del Mar, where Bob Baffert is stabled on the dirt. He doesn't want to run her on the grass. He's tried that before, and that didn't work too well. So he sends her across country here to Saratoga. She'll be close to the pace, maybe not setting the pace. It depends on what they do with Carnival Court, but she's a big factor here. 2 trainers in this year's Alabama have won, which makes Hall of Fame trainer Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons' success in the Alabama all the more impressive. 8 overall victories. Princess Ruley and Nixie in 1924 and 28. Vagrancy, Vienna, Hypnotic in the mid-40s. And finally, Sabetan 53, High Bid in 1959 is unreal. 35 years in between Sonny's first Alabama win and his last. And as you might expect, Fitzsimmons is in racing's Hall of Fame, inducted in 1958. Aside from his Alabama success, 13 Triple Crown victories, including 3 wins in the Derby. The stuff Hall of Famers are made of, which leads us to our Twitter question this afternoon. Pretty simple. Who is going to win the Alabama Stakes? Tweet at Naira News. Submit your answer using the hashtag Saratoga as we check in with Donna Brothers.
The number 3 Galloping Giraffe with Mike there. You've named a lot of your horses after you and your wife's tendencies. You've got Overanalyze, Micromanage, Stop Shopping, Maria. Galloping Giraffe, where's this come from?
You know, the filly is as big as a colt, and she came in here as a 2-year-old last year. She was really, really tall, and Todd said that she looked like a giraffe, so I sent her back, gave her some time. She came back. She's got a win in 2 seconds. She looks really, really good right now.
Speaking of the win in 2 seconds, just...
With Ed Stanko, the principal owner of Princess of Sylmar, the heavy favorite this afternoon. And what a rags to riches story this horse is, Ed. I mean, it's just unbelievable. First horse you ever bred.
That's right.
Modest breeding.
That's right.
Take us back to the Kentucky Oaks a couple of months ago, the stretch run.
It was just great, you know. When she was there, I'm thinking, coming around the turn, watching through my binoculars and just thinking, she's in 4th. I think we're going to get 3rd. And then when they went with the classic right-hand touch with the whip with Mike Smith, and then she exploded, I go, got the lead right at 50 yards to go, right where I was standing. And I just went, oh, my God, hang on. And it was timeless.
And could you believe it? And then to come back and run that race in the Coaching Club American, to win that one so easily, it was just had to be amazing for you.
It was, but that was even more nerve-wracking than anything, because when she went 4 wide in the 4th, and maybe even in the 6th path that day, I thought, boy, I've seen a lot of horses up at Saratoga give up all that ground, and I don't know. But then she powered through when that was her classic move, come from behind.
Even more than a racehorse, it seems like you've developed some kind of bond with this filly. I've seen you in the barn area, and she puts her head on your shoulder, and you pet her like a dog. I mean, that just has to be a special feeling. You have to love this filly.
Well, most racehorses, you don't want them to be like pets. But I was with her from the day she was born on Ronnie and Betsy Houghton's farm, and they always made a point of really handling her, and as they do with all of their fillies, really handle them and get them used to people. And so I was with her really for her entire life, and it's kind of special. I just hope, you know, when I watch her work out in the mornings and she goes by, I have to yell at her to keep her head straight.
Well, Ed, good luck today.
Thank you so much.
Lafitte?
Quality versus quantity right now. Princess is Sylmar, the only racehorse owned by Eddie Stanko.
He is a native of Schenectady, New York, so he really wants to win the Alabama.
Hoof Prince Walk of Fame and the great filly Go for Juan. Champion as a 2-year-old, brilliant at 3. Her victory in the 1990 Alabama, effortless, stopping the clock in 2 minutes and 4/5. That is still a stakes record. Sadly, Go for Juan was euthanized following an injury that occurred in the 1990 Breeders' Cup Distaff at Belmont. Tragic loss. She was at the time racing's darling. Go for Juan is buried here at Saratoga. Randy Romero was Go for Juan's regular rider. There's Irad Ortiz. He won last year's Alabama with Questing. He'll try to go back-to-back with Carnival Court in 15 minutes. We'll be right back. Last year's Alabama winner's circle, Questing, following her 9-length daylight win, 3rd fastest in Alabama history. So dominant last summer. She also won the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks, also in runaway fashion for Godolphin Racing. Trained by Kieran McLaughlin, Ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr. There's Kieran. He'll saddle Carnival Court this afternoon in hopes of becoming the first trainer in 20 years to win the Alabama in consecutive years.
The Alabama's a great Grade 1 at Saratoga, and everybody's watching. To me, the Alabama in questing 2012 was one of the most impressive races, and it was unbelievable.
And they're off.
She went to the lead, kept going in very fast fractions. We were worried about the fractions.
A grueling half mile here for questing. 46 seconds flat.
And then she ducked out late, ducked in. She just was a peculiar filly, but could really run.
109 and 3. Can questing keep up this brutal pace?
Probably the most impressive performance by a horse trained by Team McLaughlin that we've ever had. It just was unbelievable.
A spectacular, exhilarating performance by questing.
Following the triumph of 2012, Team McLaughlin is back in this year's Alabama Stakes with Carnival Court, also owned by Darley Stables and also ridden by Irad Ortiz, who just celebrated his 21st birthday.
Irad has ridden Carnival Court for the last 2 races where she won, and she's doing very well, so we have confidence in him riding her. We just worry a little bit about her inexperience. Carnival Court has to step up.
She'll have to step up in a big way. Carnival Court pictured currently 8-1 as we check in with Donna.
Princess of Silmar, last I looked, was 1-5 in here. And believe me, on paper, she looks like a monster. She has won 6 of her 8 lifetime starts. And she doesn't just beat horses, she devastates them with winning margins of 19, 5 1/4, 7.5, 6 lengths, the norm for her. But in the flesh, not such a monster. She's actually pretty average, even a little bit on the small size. But don't be fooled. She looked just like this when she trounced the field in the Coaching Club American Oaks, and no one in this field likes to win more than her, Lafitte.
Yeah, Donna, undersized and at times underestimated. Remember, Princess of Silmar, 38-1 when she won the Kentucky Oaks. We'll see if she can take down the Alabama in 9 minutes. We'll be right back.
It's easy to play the year's biggest races at
Zeroing in on post time for the Grade 1 Alabama, there is Princess of Silmar, not only the heavy Alabama favorite, Randy, also the subject of today's DRF breeding profile.
She's the boss in this Alabama field, and her pedigree has a heavy dose of another boss, that guy, the late Yankees owner George Steinbrenner, who was heavily involved in racing as a breeder and even as a racetrack owner. This was the 2005 Alabama, won by Sweet Symphony, bred and owned by Steinbrenner. And while there's no direct connection between Sweet Symphony and Princess of Silmar, Steinbrenner also bred and owned 2007 hopeful winner Majestic Warrior, the sire of Princess of Silmar. In fact, Princess of Silmar's pedigree consists of 5, count them, 5 generations of horses owned by Steinbrenner. He died 3 years ago, but his thoroughbred influence lives on through the pedigree of our Alabama favorite.
Sam the Bugler welcoming the field to the front side for this Grade 1 Alabama Stakes. Time now for the DRF Post Parade, and we start with number 2, Montana native, pictured for Go Zapper Racing.
One of only 2 horses in this 5-horse field that has a win at Saratoga. The other, of course, Princess of Silmar, but Montana native is the longest shot on the board right now at 12-1.
Number 3, Galloping Giraffe, provided John Velasquez with his 5,000th win last June at Belmont Park.
Look at her. Look how tall and lanky she is. No wonder Mike Rapoli named her Galloping Giraffe. She's in this race, even though she's never run in a stakes race before, because Rapoli thinks, even at 1 1/8, she's just getting warmed up. She'll be last early, but could be going fastest of all, bounding through the stretch.
Number 4, Princess of Silmar, surprise, surprise, boasts the highest buyer speed figure in the field, 105.
You know, when she ran in the Kentucky Oaks, Ed Stanko, the owner, almost didn't run her. in that race. He was tempted to run her in the Black-Eyed Susan instead, but she had a better workout before the Oaks, decided to run her in that race. She wins at 38-1, and now she's the heavy favorite for the 3-year-old filly championship.
Number 5, Carnival Court, regally bred, Royal Delta's half-sister. Royal Delta, 2-time Breeders' Cup Distaff champion.
Yeah, what a pedigree, which is why Carnival Court is in this race for her first stakes competition. They're just hoping she can finish second or third, and that would be incredibly valuable for a horse of this pedigree. Now, Kieran McLaughlin told me this morning he expects to see Carnival Court in front early. We can talk about that strategy later.
50 Shades of Hay trying to become the second West Coast-based filly to win the Alabama in 4 years like Blind Luck in 2010.
And those very familiar silks. Mike Pegram, also his partnership, has done very well over the years, and 50 Shades of Hay on a roll right now herself.
The Alabama in 3 minutes. Princess of Silmar 1-5. Preparation can only take you so far, no matter how hard you've worked. Eventually, you have to perform at a given time, in a given place, against others who have worked just as hard as you have. Miss the moment, and all of your hard work goes out the window. That maxim is especially appropriate for these 3-year-old fillies coming to the gates today for the only start they'll ever have in the Alabama Stakes. Will a late bloomer named Carnival Court bring a repeat victory to the team of Kieran McLaughlin and Irad Ortiz? A field of fast fillies led by trainer Todd Pletcher's decorated Princess of Silmar stand in their way, all of them vying to earn their place in the annals of this historic race. It is to the Travers Stakes what the Kentucky Oaks is to the Kentucky Derby. And the 133rd running of the Grade 1 Alabama Stakes is moments away. Welcome back to Saratoga Racecourse, getting closer and closer to post time for this celebrated event. Updated Alabama odds, not much has changed. Princess of Silmar 1-4. 50 Shades of Hay, solid second choice at 7-2. Final thoughts on this Alabama, Mike Battaglia?
Princess of Silmar should win. She's a heavy favorite. Her best, and there's no doubt that she wins. But 50 Shades of Hay, this horse has got a shot. 2 wins since Bob Baffert added blinkers. I think that's a big plus. She looks to be improving. She's got Johnny Velasquez aboard. Now, he doesn't usually ride for Baffert, but he's aboard this horse. He's got the outside post. He's got speed. He can see what's going on the inside. If there's a possible upset, I think it's probably from 50 Shades of Hay. Let's check in with Donna.
Here with Todd Pletcher, who actually has 2 chances in this race. A small field, though, Todd. You have 2 fillies in here who are closers. How do you think the pace scenario is going to set up for them?
Well, I think the one thing we learned with Princess of Silmar and the Gazelle is her natural running style is to come from behind, regardless of what the early pace is. So we'll just let her run her race, and Galloping Giraffe has no early speed. So it's rare we have 2 horses in one race with no speed, but that's the case here. So we'll just hope for an honest pace up front.
All right, good luck to you, Todd. Thanks.
Thank you.
Back to you, Lafitte.
Pletcher's been disappointed with an odds-on favorite on this stage before. 2004, a Shadow, 3-5 at post time. She could manage no better than a 3rd place finish. Randy, pace working for or against Princess of Silmar this afternoon?
Well, at first glance of the race, you might think it would work against her, but in talking to some of the horses, not the horses, I wish they could talk to me, talking to some of the trainers with horses in this field, I think the pace is going to be quicker than we think, so that will help Princess of Silmar. The Gazelle that Todd Pletcher was referring to was 3 races back, her only loss in her last 7 starts, when Pletcher gave Javier Castellano instructions to stay close to the pace. And the pace was pretty quick, and she weakened, and that's what they learned. She doesn't want to be like that. Just let her do her thing and let her drop back. She won't be last. That'll be Galloping Giraffe way back there. But she'll probably be next to last.
As Donna mentioned, she doesn't defeat her competition. She pulverizes them. As you see, Todd Pletcher, Princess of Silmar's 6 career victories by a combined 48.5 lengths, now seeking her 3rd win in a Grade 1 event. 50 Shades of Hay. There she is for Bob Baffert and John Velasquez in the saddle. Velasquez denied on the favorite in the Sword Dancer Invitational, with Boisterous trying to make amends with 50 Shades of Hay.
You know, Bob Baffert called Velasquez's agent earlier this week, Angel Cordero, the Hall of Fame jockey, just to get a lay of the land, who's going to run in the Alabama, whatever. And then so finally he gets around to asking Cordero, so who is Johnny Velasquez going to ride? And Cordero says, well, Mr. Beaufort, we're riding your horse. Mr. Beaufort. And Baffert said, hey, fine. Now, Baffert has been quoted as saying he expects to see 50 Shades of Hay on the lead. All right. I asked Kieran McLaughlin, the trainer of Carnival Court, this morning, so do you expect to be sitting second behind Baffert? He looked at me and said, nope. I said, so what does that mean? He said, I think we'll be in front. So the pace could be fairly lively early.
See how it all shakes out. Inaugurated in 1872, this Grade 1 Alabama Stakes, the 133rd edition. The voice of New York racing for a quarter century. Tom Durkin standing by with a live call, the 2013 Alabama.
They're in the gate. 50 Shades of Hay a bit unsettled. And they're off in the Alabama. Toward the inside, Montana native between horses. Carnival Court has some early speed. 50 Shades of Hay right up and on the pace. And farther back, it's Princess of Silmar, who's running along fourth. A little eager in the early going here. And a big break back to Galloping Giraffe as they move into the clubhouse turn. So it's Carnival Court who is the leader here. Carnival Court on top. Montana native comes off the inside for a little running room there. Right next to her, 50 Shades of Hay. And looming in behind them is Princess of Silmar on hold in the early going here. A wide margin back to Galloping Giraffe as they make their way to the backstretch run. The first quarter in 23 4/5 seconds. Carnival Court on top, 50 Shades of Hay on the outside, and Montana native. They comprise the vanguard here. Looming in behind is a would-be champion, Princess of Silmar. The half was an ordinary 48 seconds flat. There's a huge chasm back to Galloping Giraffe. So down the backstretch they go. Still a trio of front runners here. Montana native between horses. Carnival Court toward the rail. 50 Shades of Hay on the outside. Sitting chilly in the patient hands of Javier Castellano. Princess of Silmar yet to do any running. There's a half mile left here in the Alabama. Around the far turn they go. Carnival Court, Montana native to their outside, 50 Shades of Hay, and there she goes. Princess of Silmar is mounting a bid. She's forced to go toward the outside as they make their way around the far turn. Princess of Silmar has picked them off. 1, 2, 3. Princess of Silmar has seized command at the top of the stretch, and the field turns for home. Princess of Silmar on top. Carnival Court giving way. 50 Shades of Hay on the outside. Princess of Silmar turning it on here in the stretch at Saratoga, opening up by 4 lengths. 50 Shades of Hay is second as they come down to the final 16th. They're coming down to the line. Princess of Silmar ran like a champion this afternoon and wins the Alabama decisively over 50 Shades of Hay. Carnival Court was third.
A title-clinching performance, perhaps. Eddie Stanko celebrating that victory by Princess of Silmar, good as advertised in the 2013 Alabama.
Stanko, a native of nearby Schenectady, New York, wanted to win the Alabama. He said as much and maybe even more as he wanted to win the Kentucky Oaks, and boy, did Princess of Silmar deliver. You heard Tom Durkin. She was a bit more aggressive early than she has been in some of her recent races, but that's really a good thing. You know, that gives Javier Castellano even more options when she can take herself close to the pace like she did and still finish with that devastating kick that we've come to expect from Princess of Silmar. I agree. This should all but wrap up the 3-year-old filly championship, and boy, she has really become a top-class racehorse since winning the Oaks at 38-1.
The Kentucky Oaks, the coaching club, American Oaks. Look at the whip there, uncocked by Javier Castellano. A no doubt about it performance, Randy, and hitting the wire, galloping out strong with plenty left in the tank moving forward.
Now she'll probably have, I'm guessing, one more race, likely against older fillies and mares before she goes on to the Breeders' Cup in what now has been renamed the Breeders' Cup Distaff. A 3-year-old filly that's going to run against the elders. You would have to think she's been so dominant against horses of her own division. And there is Todd Pletcher winning this race for the second time. Oh, the first time.
The first time. We've seen this twice in 6 days now for Pletcher.
Last week he had never won the Saratoga Special. He got that done with Corfu. He was 0 for 11 in the Alabama coming into the day, and now he has erased that black mark from his sterling resume as well.
Let's check in with Mike Battaglia standing by with winning trainer Todd Pletcher. Mike.
All right, thanks, Lafitte. And Todd did what you expected, but were there any anxious moments at all during the race?
I tell you, I thought it unfolded beautifully. She broke cleanly and set in behind those 3 horses. It looked like Javier had a lot of horse, and it was just a matter of waiting to pull the trigger. And you know, he put the race to rest pretty much at the quarter pole.
Winning this race, the CCA, the Kentucky Oaks, does that lock up the 3-year-old filly championship?
Boy, I got to think something really crazy has to happen at the end of the year. I mean, this filly's done everything right all year, and to win those 3 races, it's pretty hard to do.
You going to do anything else with her?
I don't know. I'll talk to Ed after this. You know, we talked about putting her away maybe for the rest of the year. She's not nominated to the Breeders' Cup, and, you know, she's still a young filly, and he plans to race her at least next year, maybe more. So, but she's so good right now and so healthy, it's hard, sometimes hard to stop. Congratulations, Todd. Thank you.
All right, so Princess of Sylmar, you heard it. She all but wraps up the 3-year-old filly division.
Feels like just another day at the office for Todd Pletcher, because it is. This is what he does, win Grade 1 races. Don't forget, he has the big boy, Palace Malice, and next weekend's Travers. Eddie Stanko and company celebrating the victory by Princess of Sylmar in the Alabama. NBCSN's coverage of Summer at Saratoga is brought to you by Saratoga Racecourse, celebrating 150 years of thoroughbred racing, and by TwinSpires.com. Bet Saratoga online with your smartphone at TwinSpires.com, where players win. Devastating performance, Princess of Sylmar. I don't know, Randy. Doesn't look like she needs any time off.
If that's what Ed Stanko's thinking, it sounds like Todd Pletcher's in the mood to try to talk him out of it. It doesn't cost as much to supplement horses into the Breeders' Cup as it used to, and she made $360,000 for this win. So I don't want to tell anybody how to spend their money, but, man, she's good right now. I wouldn't just put her away.
Yet another Grade 1 victory for Princess of Sylmar as we check in with Donna.
I'm here with the winning owner, Ed Stanko, Javier Castellano. Mr. Stanko, what an amazing filly. What was this race? What did it mean to you?
Everything. That's all I can say. Everything.
This is a filly that you bred, the first filly you ever bred, the first horse you ever bred.
And here she is. She's one of the better ones. It's amazing. All because of Todd, Javier, Mike Smith back then, and Betsy and Ronnie Houghton on the farm who brought her up. I mean, it's just a wonderful dream experience. Everyone should get a taste of this once in their life.
Javier, you got a big taste of it. Any anxious moments for you at all during the race, or were you always confident?
I was always confident. I really like the horse. She's amazing feeling. I was be prepared for that. And ton of fun, I just keep track of those pacemaker horses, and ton of fun just when I look for they win the race. And I just want to hold it a little bit, say something for the end, but she really answered. She want to go, and she want to get it done today.
Nice filly. Well done, Javier.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Stanko.
Thank you so much.
All right, Lafitte.
Clear-cut leader in the 3-year-old filly division, Princess of Sylmar. Next Saturday, Summer at Saratoga continues with the highly anticipated running 144th Travers Stakes or Palace Malice Verrazano. Next Saturday, 4:30 Eastern on NBC. And yeah, this is going to be a collision of heavyweights in the 3-year-old division, Randy.
The Kentucky Derby winner, the Belmont winner, and a horse in Verrazano that literally ran a hole in the wind in the Haskell last time out. Faster than Orb and Palace Malice have ever run. Wow, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Title on the line here as well?
Partially on the line, yeah, because we had 3 different winners of the Triple Crown races. This will go a long way, I think, toward determining the 3-year-old champion.
And Javier Castellano in the winner's circle. There were 150 family and friends of Ed Stanko following his victory in the Coaching Club American Oaks. Another packed house following her victory in the Alabama. Next Saturday, Summer at Saratoga continues with the highly anticipated running of the Travers Stakes. Summer at Saratoga.
Well, we start Alabama Day amid perfect weather conditions at the old spa. Saturday number 5, the 133rd Alabama, coming up a bit later in the broadcast. Couple Grade 1s on the card this afternoon with the sword dancer as well. Jason Blewett, your host here on Saratoga 30. We're glad you're with us. A happy Alabama Day to all. 12 races in the mix. That $500,000 guaranteed late pick 4. We've got a lot of ground to cover on the show tonight. And with that in mind, we'll get right into to it. And obviously with the 12-race card, we're going to pick up the first 4 races. We'll give you the results. Obviously the results, I should say the replays are online. And the first race was a $25,000 claimer on the Mellon Sprinting for Fillies and Mares. Good to see Joe Aquilino win the first 1040 with Fantastic Eyes, who was ridden to victory by jockey Cornelia Velasquez at 1040. The favorites jumbled up, but first, second, and third in a tricky race to try 230. Here's race number 2. As we fly along, we capped the early dub with the good-looking 2-year-old maiden special weight, and the race wound up going to Hall of Fame trainer D. Wayne Lucas. He says goodbye to the Duck. He gets the money with a second-time starting 2-year-old colt by Tisnow with the number 2 Strong Mandate, 34 even, who just kicked clear and held off Tapature, who was a firster by Tappet. Jose Ortiz, the winning rider. Here's the third race on the program, a New York-bred $20,000 maiden claiming race that was quite close. A nose or so, half a head or so was the deciding factor there, deciding margin with the number 9 GW's Hammer for Joe Hurtler and Luis Saez at 1160, 4.5 to 1 over the beaten 8 to 5 favorite Ocala Jim, who hung and just ran out of racetrack in race number 3. Fourth race on this Saturday card was a 1 mile and a furlong. Good-looking crew of allowance horses, and this is probably a race you're going to want to go back and watch. And Midnight Taboo, in fact, with John Velasquez aboard, just tracked the pace 3 wide and made some amends for a loss here. A disappointing loss July 28th earlier in the meet as the big favorite. Today, he did make amends, and he avenged that defeat with John Velasquez for Todd Pletcher. In fact, Todd Pletcher, who paid $870 on the win end with Midnight Taboo, wound up running 1-2 at Golden Lad. This place was absolutely packed and electric. People are leaving, but we're just getting started here on the Alabama Day edition of Saratoga 30. Stay tuned on MSG Plus.
One sale.
While supplies last, an 11-race card, in fact, that begins at 1 p.m. Race number 5. We have barely taken a breath. We're already 5 races in, and let's get them in the gate as we check out this inner turf route, a $20,000 claiming race for 3 it up, and we can finally send it up to Tom Durkin for the call.
They're off. And gunned out of there is Brian Abel-Lascano, intent on that lead. Good speed from Anawan from the outside. But it's Brian who is streaking to the front. He has been given his cue, and he is gone in the early going. Out there by a half a dozen lengths and a little wide going into the turn is the big front runner here, Brian. Wayward Sailor runs along in second. Anawan now runs along in third. Fisano in between horses, moving up now from 4th. In My Eyes is 5th, and on the far outside, Perfect Footprint is now 6th toward the rail. And it's Westside Corral running along in 7th. Thunder Brew is 8th on the outside. Knack is now 9th. Mini Punt 10th down toward the inside of Spring Court. The Great Livingston Street trails the field. And up the backstretch they go. And Brian's out there winging. He's out there by 10. He's run a impossibly fast 46-second half mile. There's a half mile to go. Brian's isolated from the field. And then it's Wayward Sailor continues leading the second flight here, followed by Anawan 3rd on the outside. Perfect Footprint now 4th to the rail. Fitzano rating while in between horses, and now 5th. In My Eyes, Knack, Westside Corral, and stopping up there was Perfect Footprint, and that forced Fitzano to take up. So they're about to blow by Brian here as they come to the quarter pole. Brian is done. At the top of the stretch, it is now Anawan, In My Eyes on the outside, and then Wayward Sailor, Perfect Footprint. And in between horses, here comes Westside Corral, who's kicking in just inside the 8th pole. Mini Punt on the far outside, coming down to the finish, and it is Westside Corral up to get it. Westside Corral won it by a length. Anawan was second, 3-way photo for 3rd.
Pretty big price considering Westside Corral had recent races that would win this, and he was dropping from $35,000 to $20,000 off the claim for Winning Move Stable. Steve Sigler continues to pick his spots, and he continues to pick them well here at the spa. Another win for him. Dominic Galucio, he's had a big summer, and Javier Castellano, 39 wins, 1240. No claims on Westside Corral. Wayward Sailor to David Jacobson. Mike Maker took Fisano and Livingston Street to Ken Stryker. Here's race number 6 on the card. Late scratch of the 11, Half Wildcat, who was a real big price. We're sprinting on the Mellon with this New York bred allowance race, and here's Tom once again.
And they're off. Slow beginning for Iron Power. Missed the break at the back of the pack is Iron Power. Scramble on for the lead up the backstretch run. And it is Sandy Slew right alongside the Big Deluxe. And just to their outside, Stoneless, those three in a full-out war here as they move into the far turn. Down toward the inside is Sandy's Slew, or rather on the inside, Little Bagman running along in 4th. Followed by Lord of Love, now 5th. Greedy Pack 6th on the outside. Count Knickerbocker is 7th. Dark Roast is 8th. Then a break of 4 back to that late starting Iron Power. And at the back of the pack is Ginger's Joe. Now the field turns for home. It's Sandy Slew down toward the inside. Sandy Slew coming to the 8th hole there, clear by 2. The Big Deluxe on the outside. Up the inside comes Ludo Bagman from 3rd. Count Knickerbocker. Far outside, River Tune, who's come from way out of it. They're coming down to the finish. Sandy Slew in front. 4-way photo for 2nd. River Tune, Sandy Slew.
And again, that late scratch of the 11 half Wildcat, who was a big price, equally as big of price as the one Sandy Slew, who was not on the outside. He had the rail, gelding by Limehouse. Good-looking effort on the turf for our buddies at Team Clear Star Stable. Rick Schosberg win number 2, and Cornelia Velasquez gets his 2nd on the program. 31.80 over River Tune, and certainly a tough start for the 8-5 favorite Iron Power, who walked out of the gate, and that was really his undoing at that 5.5 furlong distance. We'll move on to race number 7. Race number 7, believe it or not, begins the pick 6 on this Alabama card. We're going 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf with the starter allowance optional claimer for 3 and up.
And they're off. Oh, an awkward beginning there for Loyal Jim. Jose Lascano almost fell off as they left the gate. Here's Abra racing for the lead, and Attenborough's right there with him on the inside. Also with some early speed, Virginia Colony, and more speed as well from Velvet Cap. Vinny Goodtimes has taken off this developing battle up front and runs back in 5th. Gold McGill 6th toward the inside. Cutting the corner is Loyal Jim now from 7th. Winnabosporus moving from 8th, followed by Ale and Tater Downs. Into the backstretch. Vinny Goodtimes had a check out of there back in 5th place. In the meantime, up top, it is Abra with the lead. Not far behind, Virginia Colony and Velvet Cap 2. Just in behind them at the rail, Attenborough runs along in 4th. Hard held and hard to handle is Vinny Goodtimes. He's 5th, about 5 lengths from the lead. Then right alongside him, it's Gold McGilla, followed by Lawyer Jim down toward the rail. Winnabosporus on the outside. Ale and Tater Downs, the last of them all. The pace has been a swift one. 47-2 is the half mile. The field moving into the far turn. Abra hounded by long shot Virginia Colony with 3 furlongs remaining. On the outside, there goes Vinny Goodtimes with a bold rush. Vinny Goodtimes sweeping toward the lead. On the far outside, off the inside, comes Attenborough. And then it's Gold McGilla, followed by Velvet Cap. Wind of Bosporus taken very wide. Ale comes off the inside. They're coming into the final furlong now. Here's Lawyer Jim, who slipped through. Lawyer Jim coming on to take the lead. And then it's Vinny Goodtimes 2nd. Tater Downs has made a run from last down toward the rail, but it'll be Lawyer Jim who reports home by 2 on the line. Tater Downs gets up for 2nd, followed by
race number 7. Lawyer Jim on the drop. This horse was coming out of a much tougher allowance race against New York breds here a few weeks ago. 13-20, and this horse ridden to perfection by Jose Lascano. You cannot ride a horse better. Lisa Lewis up for trainer, I should say for owner William Chatine, gelding by Lawyer Ron. Lawyer Jim 13-20 over the 12 Tater Downs. On to race number 8, Melon Grass course. After this little breather here with the first 7 down, the place was packed. And we'll see you guys for the Alabama after our final timeout. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm rejoining you guys in the gazebo. In fact, I hope I don't tip over here. I am by myself, but I was not by myself today, that's for sure. In addition to the 2 grade ones and the 12 races on the card, we had almost 35,000 in attendance. All sources handle up 5%, 24.3 million. Thank you to our customers. We'll get on to race number 8. We're on the Melon Turf course at 1 mile and 3/16 with this allowance optional claimer. And let's set it back up to Tom.
And they're off. Ampersand down inside. From the far outside is Kathy's Kitten. Also forwardly placed is Lead Singer. There's not a lot of early initiative here. No one really wants the lead. And almost unwillingly, it's Kathy's Kitten and Lead Singer. hard held and tucked away in behind them. Master Wesley third as they move into the turn. And then it is Sandy in the Sun, who's fourth on the outside. Royal Blessing now runs along in fifth. Ampersand is sixth down toward the rail. Gambling Fever's on the outside now, and Lure of the South trails the field behind the leisurely early pace here of the front runners. And the front runners are Lead Singer and Kathy's Kitten. 24-4 was that opening quarter mile, so they take this stroll into the back stretch. Lead Singer and Kathy's Kitten setting up just in behind them. Master Wesley on hold, while third. Another two to Sandy in the Sun and Ampersand. And the trio at the back of the pack, Royal Blessing, Lure of the South, and Gamblin' Fever. They waltz through an opening half mile in 50 1/5 seconds. Lead Singer narrowly over Kathy's Kitten. In behind them the whole way, Master Wesley continues on in third. Ampersand on the fence in fourth. Sandy in the Sun is fifth, only about 4.5 lengths from the lead now. Royal Blessing forced to take the overland route into the far turn. Lure of the South down toward the rail, and Gambling Fever. Tempo quickening now as they round the far turn. Lead Singer's got plenty left. After 3/4 and 14-4, Lead Singer is the leader. Master Wesley now kicking in as they come to the top of the stretch. Ampersand is just in behind the lead. And then it's Kathy's Kitten who's in between horses. Royal Blessing on the outside. Sandy in the Sun and Gamblin' Fever into the final furlong here. Master Wesley, Kathy's Kitten, Ampersand slices his way through. Royal Blessing coming with a determined run. Sandy in the Sun on the outside. Wild charge to the finish. Ampersand at the rail. Sandy in the Sun and Lure of the South. Sandy in the Sun, Lure of the South, and Ampersand. Three of them in a tight photo finish.
Yep, if you knew a Sandy, well, you are a Sandy. Maybe you cashed in this one. Blue blinkers on the inside. Junior Alvarado up for Robbie Davis, your winning owner and trainer with this New York bred Sandy in the Sun. For Robbie Davis, and thank you to Dave Gretting for writing a little blurb on DRF.com. This is his first career win as a trainer at Saratoga. That was obvious. What was not obvious, Robbie's last win as a rider here at the Old Spa, August 24th of 2002, riding at First Blush to victory. I remember that horse. I think that was on the Travers undercard in which Medaglia d'Oro won, and Geigerstar won the King's Bishop. But good to see Robbie Davis. He and his family, they were going bananas. I'm sure they cashed a few tickets as well, and a job well done all around with Sandy in the Sun. Let's get on to the Grade 1 portion of this Alabama Day card. Race number 9, the 39th running of the $600,000 Sword Dancer Invitational on the inner at 1.5 miles.
And they're off. Stormy Lord immediately takes command. Stormy Lord out there with that lead. Tahoe Lake moves up on the far outside. Natella's got some early speed. And then Twilight Eclipse and over at the inside Star Channel. Boisterous is 6th, followed by Al Khali running along in 7th. London Lane is 8th on the far outside. Tannery is now 9th. And down on the fence is Big Blue Kitten, 10th, as his stablemate leads the way in Exclusive Strike and Optimizer. So around the first of 3 turns here, and Stormy Lord is providing the pace, and he opens up 4 lengths on the field here. Tahoe Lake not taking the bait and sits back along in second. Natella's a little bit rank, running along in third. He's trying to follow Tahoe Lake around there, and they have caught up on the front runner. So the lead's now 1.5 lengths. Stormy Lord. Tahoe Lake is second. London Lord on the outside now. There goes London Lane up to challenge for the lead. Twilight Eclipse over on the hedge runs along in 4th. Boisterous is only 3.5 lengths from the lead. He's now running in 5th position. And then the French colt Natella is back racing in 6th. Al Khali takes to the outside 7th. Optimizer 8th and on the far outside, followed by Star Channel Exclusive Strike. Big Blue Kitten still at the back of the pack, and Tannery is now the trailer. Stormy Lord, the lead's just a length. The half-mile mark was 49-4, 3/4 in 1:14-1. The field moving down the backstretch here, and there's 5 furlongs remaining. The leader is still Stormy Lord. London Lane pressing for that lead midway down the backstretch run. Twilight Eclipse tucked away at the hedge, right there third, as they approach the far turn, less than a half-mile to go. Then it's Tahoe Lake, Natella toward the inside. Time ticking away for Boisterous here. Yet to get underway. He's still about 5.5 lengths from the lead. lead. Alcali is in behind horses as they move into the far turn. Big Blue Kitten starting to get underway, but he'll have to find a way through on the inside. Less than 3 furlongs to go. London Lane, a narrow lead. Twilight Eclipse, and here comes Boisterous. Charging up on the outside. Alcali takes to the far outside. Stormy Lord is given way. Nutella tried to squeeze through toward the rail. Twilight Eclipse has come away with the lead, but here comes Nutella closing with the furious rally, and so too Big Blue Kitten coming with giant strides, and he gobbles up the turf, and in the final furlong, Big Blue Kitten with a dramatic final quarter mile wins the Sword Dancer by a length. Twilight Eclipse was second. It was close for third.
Let's watch Joe Bravo. Here he comes, second Ramsay horse, the red cap with the R. Watch this ride. Save ground around 3 turns. Keep in mind how important in a 3-turn turf race it is to save ground. He was inside with Big Blue Kitten, wheeled him to the outside, and he will come with that furious finish. I'll tell you what, Javier Castellano rode the eventual runner-up perfectly as well. The number 4 Twilight Eclipse for West Point Stable. But Big Blue Kitten saved ground early, was full of run, and on the heels of that Grade 1 United Nations score a few weeks ago at his second Grade 1, and this was a sign of things to come. What a Saturday for Ken and Sarah Ramsay. They won both the Grade 1 Secretariat and Grade 1 Arlington Million and the Sword Dancer with 3 homebreds by Kitten's Joy. Wow. Chad Brown had a big day as well, won the Arlington Million, and Joe Bravo, that was just a flawless ride there at 790 over Twilight Eclipse. The beaten favorite, Boisterous, just could never tuck in after breaking towards the outside, was wide and just flattened out in the Sword Dancer. Here's race number 10. Featured attraction on this Saturday card. It is the 133rd running of the Grade 1 $600,000 Alabama for 3-year-old fillies. We will go with a field of 5, and most eyes, of course, on the 4, Princess of Silmar.
And they're off in the Alabama. Toward the inside, Montana Native between horses. Carnival Court has some early speed. 50 Shades of Hay right up and on the pace. And farther back, it's Princess of Silmar, who's running along fourth. A little eager in the early going here. And a big break back to Galloping Giraffe as they move into the clubhouse turn. So it's Carnival Court who is the leader here. Carnival Court on top. Montana Native comes off the inside for a little running room there. But right next to her, 50 Shades of Hay. And looming in behind them is Princess of Silmar on hold in the early going here. A wide margin back to Galloping Giraffe as they make their way to the backstretch run. The first quarter in 23 4/5 seconds. Carnival Court on top, 50 Shades of Hay on the outside, and Montana Native. They comprise the vanguard here. Looming in behind is a would-be champion, Princess of Silmar. The half was an ordinary 48 seconds flat. There's a huge chasm back to Galloping Giraffe. So down the backstretch they go. Still a trio of front runners here. Montana Native between horses. Carnival Court toward the rail. 50 Shades of Hay on the outside. Sitting chilly in the patient hands of Javier Castellano. Princess of Silmar yet to do any running. There's a half mile left here in the Alabama. Around the far turn they go. Carnival Court, Montana Native. To their outside, 50 Shades of Hay. And there she goes. Princess of Silmar is mounting a bid. She's forced to go toward the outside as they make their way around the far turn. Princess of Silmar has picked them off. 1, 2, 3. Princess of Silmar has seized command at the top of the stretch, and the field turns for home. Princess of Silmar on top. Carnival Court giving way. 50 Shades of Hay on the outside. Princess of Silmar turning it on here in the stretch at Saratoga, opening up by 4 lengths. 50 Shades of Hay is second as they come down to the final 16th. They're coming down to the line. Princess of Silmar ran like a champion this afternoon and wins the Alabama decisively over 50 Shades of Hay. Carnival Court was third.
Big 1-2 favorite owned by Ed Stanko, the Pennsylvania-bred filly by Majestic Warrior. We saw her blossom and develop into the best 3-year-old filly earlier in this winter, downstate on the inner track at the Big A. And who would have thought, watching her win the Busher and the Busanda, that at the time you were looking at the Kentucky Oaks, Coaching Club American Oaks, and Alabama champion. And you know what? Looking at that trifecta that she racked up this afternoon beneath Javier Castellano, I'm going to say, although there's a lot of racing left, she is going to win the 3-year-old Filly Eclipse Award Championship. That is for sure. Becoming the first filly since Open Mind in 1989 to win the Oaks Coaching Club and the Alabama. Princess of Sylmar, just a class act. And the owner at Stanko, a local guy, lives down in Schenectady, loves the game. He was at Aqueduct all winter long. And for Todd Pletcher, believe it or not, Todd's first career win in the Alabama. Todd now has 26 wins at the meet, and Javier Castellano, the first jock this summer to hit 40 wins. Princess of Sylmar, classy all the way in the Alabama. 2 more races left to go. We come up on race number 11. We're on the inner turf course. Final grass race in the mix. We've got a $25,000 maiden claimer for 3 and up.
Uproarious George, and over at the fence, Sunny Coast. Rivet is sent, and there goes Rivet to seize command early on here. Not too far behind, So Outspoken, who's up there running along second as they move onto the line the first time. Sunny Coast at the rail. Pentagram is fourth on the outside. Uproarious George is fifth. Fiddler's Tango 3 wide, sixth into the turn. Full Control wide goes Full Control, and even wider yet was Fiddler's Tango. So they continue on the first turn, and Rivet is the leader. Rivet on top. So Outspoken continues on in second. Sunny Coast on hold while third. Pentagram is fourth. Uproarious George racing fifth now. And then on the outside is Almost Journey. Took a little bad step there, running along in seventh, followed by Moravitz, now eighth on the rail, to break a 4 to Full Control. Another 4 to Fiddler's Tango. Just to his inside, it's Let the Cat Out, and they are followed by Tio, and way behind the rest is Jade Master. A strung outfield here behind Rivet into the far turn. So Outspoken has been tracking him behind a 48 1/2 mile. They're on the far turn now. Rivet trying to take him all the way on the lead. So Outspoken now. So Outspoken. Johnny Velasquez says go with So Outspoken. They're still a length and a half behind. Pentagram takes to the outside third. Almost Journey is fourth. And Teo's getting underway, but he was spun wide by Full Control. Sunny Coast down toward the inside, and Uproarious George. There's 1 furlong to go. Rivet. So Outspoken now coming with his final try. So Outspoken getting closer to Rivet, and Teo's getting very close. Just 2 lengths behind. A length and a half as they come down to the line, but it is So Outspoken. So Outspoken is the winner. Tio runs out of racecourse.
Todd Pletcher wins his third on the day, win number 27 for him. Johnny V gets his second on the card. Johnny's got 32 wins and now 6 wins at the meet for Rapoli Stable as Mike gets his, Mike Rapoli, that is, gets his second on the card. 840, second on the second choice of the betting, and he gets the money over 2 in race number 11. We'll pick up the last race in progress. We've got 1 more to go. We'll pick it up on the backside. In fact, race number 12, a 7 furlong New York bred maiden special weight for 3 and up. And here's Tom with the call of the nightcap.
And then Bottle of Red or White trying to get back in it. 1 Red Cat now rallies. 1 Red Cat coming to the front runner, Native Singer. And Jess's Giant Dunk is on the move now. Up fourth on the outside. In behind Horses Summer Place to Be. Back in fifth, then Mr. GZ. And Bernardo coming through down toward the rail. He was last on the backstretch. He's now third, coming to the last furlong. Native Singer on top. Summer Place to Be. Summer Place to Be in front. And Jess's Giant Dunk comes up late on the outside of Bernardo, but they're coming down to the finish. It is Summer Place to Be. A 5-length winner at the end. Jesse's Giant Dunk was second, followed by
3 wins on the card for Cornelia Velasquez, Tony Dutro, a well-schooled first-time starting New York-bred gelding by Corinthian, 980 Summer Place to Be. Quite fitting at the end for a horse with that name to win the nightcap on the Alabama Day card. The pick 6 was hit despite that big long shot. Sandy and the Sun winning. And speaking of winning, Princess of Sylmar has been terrific. We'll see what she can do throughout the fall. For now, we say goodnight. We'll see you guys back tomorrow with the baseball cap giveaway and a Sunday card that kicks off at 1. Good night, everybody.